Welcome, everybody, to our Side by Side Sunday. We are so excited tonight to have our special guests, and we are going to do a panel discussion on the comeback to bright line eating. I am going to start off with a little video presentation of all of our panelists. So here we go. Read the fine print, I've got baggage and it's all Gucci. Don't get too attached to me. Everybody act like the answer. One love like in the movies, wasting precious time assuming. Oh, oh, what we made for. Oh, oh. I'm not lonely with soul, it's only exploring what I need. Cause dozens of times I swear that I knew when the wisdom was candy. Doesn't mean I was broken so open, I gave it till empty. Got it all back on myself, no nobody can stand me. And if I turn around, sit on. The fine print, I've got baggage and it's all Gucci. Don't get too attached to me. Everybody act like the answer. One love like in the movies, wasting precious time assuming. Oh, oh, what we made for. Oh. I'm having some technical difficulties. Hold on just a second. So it's always exploring what I need. Cause dozens of times I swear that I knew when the wisdom was candy. Doesn't mean I was broken so open, I gave it till empty. Got it all back on myself, no nobody can stand me. If I turn around, okay, can you guys all hear me? Go ahead and unmute yourselves, the panelists. So we have here Alison Holmes, Ashley Young, and Pearl Hart. And we're so excited to hear a little bit about your story and about your program. First question, I would love it if we could go around and have everybody just introduce yourself. Just tell us a little bit what you think we should know about you in a quick minute or two. Alison?
I'm Alison Holmes. I grew up in Virginia in the DC area. I met my husband at BYU and we ended up in the Seattle area where we raised our kids, who are all grown-ups now, and we have six little grandkids. While we were in Seattle, I worked at the Seattle Temple behind the scenes for 15 years. And after COVID and remote work, we've moved down to Nampa, Idaho, which is in the Boise area. So we love it here. And I work as a benefits counselor for Colonial Life, so workplace benefits and helping employees enroll for their benefits. And so my Brightline journey, I came across videos about from Susan Pierce Thompson in 2016, and I joined the that boot camp in October of that year. And I had a second one that was offered free a few months later. And in that first year, I lost from my highest weight was about 280 down to about 215. So I lost about 65 pounds and uh, by a year later. And then, things happened and I didn't join the membership. It was pricey. Back then, the boot camp was pricey and I, did that. Um, but a few years went by. I kind of stayed steady in the 230s until 2022, 2023, and I had my mom that I was caring for, and I gained back pretty much all the weight. So in 2023, another boot camp came up on I kept getting the emails from Susan and the vlogs. And so I joined the boot camp in 2023 and joined the membership, did kind of slowly kind of got into the routine again. And then Beth invited me to join Brightest Eaters, and I got on a Gideon Games team, and I am down 105 pounds now from my highest weight. So yeah, I'm happy to be here.
It's amazing. You've been around for a long time. Wow. You started, yeah.
Peripherally, kind of.
Right.
Yes.
All right. Welcome, Allison. Ashley, what about you?
So I am from Canada and I am single. I live alone. I live with, oh well, besides my dog Nightly, I have a big golden doodle. He's black and gray. And anyway, I'm a teacher and I'm very, very active. I do yoga. Soccer is about to start up at the end of the month. I also like biking, snowshoeing, snow boarding, everything outdoors, camping and things. I started BLE back in 2019 after reading the book. I just did the 14-day challenge on my own, and I followed the book, and I did really well for. I started July 7th of 2019, and by March of 2020, I had lost everything but 10 pounds of my weight loss phase. And then COVID hit. And then I turned to my old friend, or I thought it was my old friend, food for comfort because teaching was really, really hard during the pandemic. And so I um, I went back to my old ways and I tried again and again and again and again and again and again to get back on bright line eating because it's the only thing that worked. It was the only thing that kept me satisfied for food wise. I had enough food that I didn't feel like I was starving. Um, but at one point in 2023, I gave up completely and I just was like so far in the ditch. I was farther than the ditch. I was in the field. I was going the opposite direction. Anyways, and anyways, I'll talk about my turning point later on, but I ended up coming back in October of 2024. So just 6 months ago, and I'm now 17 pounds away from my goal weight again.
Yay. How much total did you lose then?
Oh, so the first round, I lost a total of 40 pounds,
Mhm.
but I gained it all back and then some. So the second round, I'm down 63 pounds currently
Wow.
and still have 17 more to go.
That
Yeah.
is so great. Oh, you look fantastic.
Thank you.
Wonderful. And where do you live, Ashley? Did you say? Sorry, I'm
Yeah, in Canada. I live in Edmonton, Alberta.
Edmonton, Alberta. Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Thank you so much. Wonderful. Welcome. And Pearl Hart.
Hi, I'm Pearl Hart, and I was born in Provo, Utah, but 2 weeks later I was taken to Oregon, and that's where I grew up as a child and teenager. My mother was from Provo, so all of us went back to BYU, where grandparents were. And so went to BYU, got my degree in home economics education, which is currently called Family and Consumer Sciences, and got married and had 6 wonderful children and pregnant with my sixth child when I went through a divorce and returned to Utah to do graduate work with. So I came as a single parent and went through graduate work, taught at BYU 9 years, and then at UVU and Utah State University. And I finished my career at the Utah State Board of Education as the Director of Family Consumer Sciences Education. So the Lord had an interesting bucket list for me. But all through that, I was on every kind of diet you can imagine. And I remarried, and my husband had 8 children. I had 6, so there's 14 between the two of us, and 25 grandchildren. So life is busy. I call it 14 personalities because we all know they come with their personalities, and it's delightful, and we work with it. Um, my I retired to take care of my husband, and actually before that, I retired to take care of my husband because he had multiple strokes, and my daughter watched me with my my weight and my challenges. And she says, Mom, I found Bright Line Eating and I think this is good for you. And she walked me through everything she did. And I'm just going, this is magic. This makes sense. And I jumped on. And back then there was the 14-day challenge, and it was 2020. It was during at the fall of the pandemic. And my husband wasn't quite there because food was too important to it to change it, what he was doing. But anyway, I lost 120 pounds and loved it, loved my body, and was excited because but my problem was I didn't know how to do maintenance. And I didn't know that was one of the magic things about Bright Line Eating. And so my husband passed away 2 years ago, and I realized as I tried to do Bright Line Eating by myself, it was not working. But then in October of 2023, the prophet said food addiction was one of the challenges. And I jumped on the January 2024 boot camp, and that put me in the right place, and then became a Bright Lifer. And of course, our wonderful Beth rescued me and brought me to Brightest Eaters and part of a Gideon Game team. And I currently have lost another 90 of the pounds I gained back because during the time after I lost the weight, I became a caregiver for my husband who was going down in health. And I also cared for a daughter who had disabilities, and they were extreme disabilities. And so I just gained weight back. Like Alison said, caregiving is a challenge with your weight. But anyway, I'm here and part of the wonderful place to be. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. And you guys already know me, but I will just say this. This is a topic that's dear to my heart because I did leave Bright Line Eating for a time, even though it was always with the intention that I was going to come back. And so I definitely had my time away and, gaining weight back and all of that as well. And so I'm so grateful to Bright Line Eating, though. It's been a miracle in my life. Okay, so I'm going to ask some different questions, and some people are going to respond to some of the questions, and all of you are going to respond to some of the questions. But we're just gonna go on this journey together. So the next question is, what were the biggest challenges that came between you and Bright Line Eating in the past? How have you been able to overcome or minimize these challenges in your current program? And Ashley's going to respond to this question.
Yeah, so I found part of the biggest challenge for me was societal expectations and norms, because so much of my social life revolved around food. And so that was a big part of it, was this pressure to socialize and have food the center of that socialization. I think another challenge too for me was my acceptance of my addiction. I think for a long time, I knew that food was a struggle for me, but I wasn't willing to admit to myself or to anybody else that it was something that I had to, not that I had to, I don't know, I just didn't identify it as a problem necessarily. Maybe I thought that everyone felt the same way about food as I did. So I think that was a challenge too, was just really accepting that I wasn't the same as everybody else, that that I could do it on my own, that there's so many parts of just how my brain would rationalize my situation. And so that was definitely a challenge. I think the biggest reason I would have been able to overcome some of those challenges, I still have hard days, that's for sure, and I still fall short sometimes. But the biggest thing that has helped me is the community. And that has been with the Bright Lifers. I did the boot camp, which I didn't do during my first round of Bright Line Eating. I did it on my own. And the second round, the boot camp made a huge difference. And now I've done other coursework as well. I've done the Foundations of a Bright Life, and I've done Maintenance 1, and I'm just about to start Grit, and I just keep doing those courses. And so that has really helped me overcome this diet mentality that I've had where I'm just really changing the patterns of thinking in my brain. And then the other challenges, and we'll talk about this later too, this is part of my turning point, was the promptings that I received from studying the Book of Mormon during that last year. I think that for me has been huge in overcoming challenges, is the power that I have accessed through the atonement of Jesus Christ, power beyond my own, because I know if it's just me, I cannot do this by myself because I am not strong enough. I cannot do it by myself. And so I need the Savior's power in my life on a daily basis and drawing on that. And that's the only way that I can overcome my addiction, is to rely on his strength.
Oh, that's great. I love that you talked about the dieter mentality, overcoming that, because that's definitely instrumental for me, right? And just yeah, I've done every diet in the book, and I've been dieting like my whole life, since I was young. And I had to come to a point where I realized and understood that this was an addiction and that I have to have help from Jesus Christ to do that. So thank you for bringing that up. Okay, the next question. When you consider your past moments of struggling with bright line eating, what is your attitude towards yourself during that time? Alison, can you answer that for us?
Yeah, so when I would struggle with my lines and I'd break them over and over again, I'd be frustrated. I'd wonder what was wrong with me. Why can't I do this? I know it works. I just feel out of control, but gradually, over actually years of being part of the community, just recognizing that I am not this addiction. This isn't me. It's outside of me. It's something about my brain that doesn't work right. So I had to learn to forgive myself and show mercy to me, like Heavenly Father shows mercy to me, and just start again, and I started again many, many, many times. So
Oh,
just there
awesome.
was a whole shift in accepting that I'm not a bad person for breaking my lines, just keep going.
Yeah, I think accepting that it was an addiction was kind
Hmm.
of freeing for me, at least, because I had been so self-condemning, in the past, and just, why can't I do this? I make these promises and then I break them, and I always go back to the food, but knowing that this is an addiction, it kind of was freeing and gave me power, I feel like, to
Definitely.
tackle it, So yeah. Yeah, thank you so much. I love that. Okay, next question. Um, Tell us about your turning point. And this is a question for everybody. What is it that helped you to come back? So let's just respond to that part of the equation first. Tell us about your turning point and what was it that helped you come back? Let's start with Ashley.
Okay, so when we were reading the Book of Mormon for Come Follow Me, actually I've read the book. I read it every year, but this last year, and so actually previously when I had read it, I had marked all the verses that pertain to addiction recovery. And so this past year, I was reading it again. I was seeing all these verses that I had highlighted that I had looked at before. And so I was thinking, oh, interesting. Like, look what it says here, and look at what is it. And in the back of my mind, I kept hearing, it's time to change. It's time to change. Every time I read another verse, I was like, well, I could do this with the help of the Savior. And then I felt that prompting again, it's time to change. And so that was the initial part, and it took it took a whole year, or well, not quite a whole year, until October, right, where I was really ready to commit. So it took a while of the Holy Ghost being like, hey, like there's so much better prepared for you if you make this change, if you bury your weapons of war. And so that was the initial part, but also the talk by President Nelson, Think Celestial, where he named food addiction. That was like another big sign for me, like the Heavenly Father really wants me to do this. And so if I want to overcome this. I know that I cannot do it by myself. And so it was time for a change. And so finally, after months of thinking about it, I finally decided to do the boot camp. No matter what the cost, no matter what, I was going to do it, and I was really going to do it this time. And I didn't feel like I was doing it on my own. I felt like I had a community, but I also can testify that I had strength beyond my own to do it as well.
Wow. That is so powerful. You know, the Book of Mormon, it changes our hearts, but not only in our faith, but in our food addiction too. I love that story. Thank you for sharing. Pearl, what about you?
Thank you, Ashley. I appreciate your thoughts too on that. My turning point, I kind of spoke to it as in my introduction, is that I gained my weight back through the process of being a caregiver and trying to find myself after my husband died. And my daughter was also placed in a group home. So all of a sudden it was like, well, I can do this myself. But it was that same thing that I needed the savior. I needed someone to help me, and I couldn't do it on my own. And once again, it was the thing celestial, President Nelson, and he was naming the normal ones that we hear, the alcohol, the porn, the gambling. But when he said food, it just hit me right between the eyes like, oh, okay, I have an addiction. And when we change our identity and talk about our identity, that was a really hard one, because it was like, no, I'm not an addict. But then I'm going, be honest with myself. And I realize as I'm more honest, then it helps me come to a point where I can change. And Ezra Taft Benson says, when we choose Christ, we choose to change. And he has changed my heart, but he has also given me something that I didn't realize I needed as desperately as I did. Now, coming back and doing the boot camp and paying for it was hard, because money was like, ooh, this is a tough one. But once again, I agree with Ashley that says, hey, I'm worth it. I need this. I can't do it on my own. And I love boot camp. It gave me a lot of tools, a lot of insights. It helped me realize that I can change my identity. I now call myself a bright lifer without even thinking about it. I tell people about, who I am and what I do with my food, because it's who I am now. And as I finished boot camp, I remember exactly where I was when I made the decision. I was actually on a road trip and going through Idaho and making the decision to sign up to be a Bright Lifer. I thought the money is worth it because I need this. And I didn't even understand then it was the tip of the iceberg of what is offered. The magic of Bright Line Eating is the connections. Beth found me because I had an 801 number. I live in Riverton, Utah, and she connected me with a Gideon Game group that has changed my life. And
It's an all LDS Gideon Game team,
all
right?
LDS Gideon Game group, going to the conference, all those things were my turning point that says, I'm not going back. This is who I am now, and I'm happy here. The Lord's blessing me here, and I'm blessing other people's life, because my children watch and my grandchildren watch what I eat and how I feed them. So it's been a real turning point that I'm not going back. This is who I am.
Love it. Oh, Pearl, thank you. And I love that quote. When you choose Christ, you choose to be, you choose to
You
change.
choose to change. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember how. Anyways, I love that. I love that quote. And I love how it, how it goes along with Bright Line Eating for sure. Okay. And Allison, tell us about.
Yeah, my turning point was really gaining back all the weight, and so when I joined that boot camp in 2023 and it ended, I became a bright lifer for the first time and came all the way in. And Beth found me, probably because I put BYU on my Facebook page, and I didn't even know that the Brightest Eaters group existed. And what the reason I really wanted to join Bright Lifers was so I could be on a Gideon Games team. And so I'm on an all LDS Gideon Games team, and the support is phenomenal. And I'm on my fourth round, and I'm going to be the team leader coming up next. So that's a new thing for me, and I'm excited about that. Also, after I joined Bright Lifers, my mom passed away, and after she passed, I had some months of grieving, and I was in the food, but after a few months of that, I'm like, I'm done with that. I'm in Bright Lifers. I need to just buckle down and do the work. And so someone brought up a 100-day challenge, and I'm like, okay, I can do that. And then I was in a paid challenge where I had $50 on the line, and I'm like, I can do that. And I lost my $50 a couple of times, but now I'm solid in that kind of thing. And just the tools and the support in the community have been a game changer for me, and being in this, in this group too. So
Oh, I love it. I can
it's
identify with you in a lot of ways because that $50 challenge was the challenge that I started, but I have also lost my $50 a number of times in that challenge. So, none of us are exempt, but I get stronger and stronger. And the other thing that I love that you talked about was joining the Bright Lifers because you wanted to be on a Gideon game team. And that was the reason that I joined Bright Lifers. Finally, after 5 years of Bright Lane Eating. It took me that long to join Bright Lifers. And I was only joining because I wanted to be a member of this all LDS Gideon game team. And I knew it would change my life. And it has. It's changed my life forever. But I did not realize, you guys, what a benefit I would get from all the other perks of being a member. Like what a blessing it has been, and we'll go into that in maybe in a minute, but yeah, it's just been phenomenal. Okay. The second part of this question is, what was the greatest lesson you learned in the process? Just a quick sentence, one lesson that you really learned in this process of coming back to Bright Lane Eating. Let's go ahead and start actually with Alison. We're going to kind of go in a different order this time.
the greatest lesson I've learned is that it's possible. After years, decades of failing over and over again, it is possible to lose the weight. And I'm looking forward to maintenance and keeping it off and knowing how to do it. That's it.
Amen. Times 1,000. I will just give my own little yes. Yes, it is possible to come back, to lose the weight, and to remain in maintenance, to stay there. It's possible. Ashley.
I would say never give up. Just keep starting over as many times as you need.
Or as they said in one of my Gideon game teams, never stop starting. I love that phrase. Never stop starting. Yeah, never give up. Good. Pearl.
Greatest lesson is that I can't do it without community. Absolutely need you ladies and men who are part of this. It's been huge. It makes all the difference.
Yeah. I think I posted in the Brightest Eaters group. Did I post it? The little video clip that addiction is the opposite of or connection is the opposite of addiction. It's the cure for addiction. So connection is so vital. All right. Okay, our next question. How has the Brightest Eaters community, the Brightest Eaters of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints Facebook group, played a role in strengthening your program? What in the LDS community has been the most helpful for you specifically? Alison, will you answer that for us?
I just love on Facebook where we see the connection to gospel principles that people post. Just, you know, it, it's a good place to share, and everyone, is so, that I gained so much knowledge and insight from other members in this community. And I'm really looking forward to the conference. I've not been to one yet, so I just love the sisterhood, the community, and there's brothers too, but everybody that contributes to that Facebook group and the Tuesday night support group as well.
It's powerful. Thank you so much. Pearl.
I looked at the LDS component of it, and when we look at my Gideon game team with it, Beth put me on, really just hooked me and pulled me in. And the gospel and Bright Line Eating go hand in hand. They really do. God knows our bodies. He knows what we need for help, both spiritually and physically. And the women on my Gideon Games group, they're amazing. and we're vulnerable with each other. We communicate daily. Go through each other's ups and downs. We have contribute to a prayer roll list every week that so that we know that who needs extra prayers, but also those names go into the temple for extra help. And I just feel heard. I feel like I'm granted mercy over and over again when I do go in the ditch. But also there's a place of celebration. And it's been it's how do I say it? I feel like I found my peoples in the sense that their loving desire to live the gospel and who they are. And a couple of us, I work in the Jordan River Temple, and someone else works in the Portland Temple. And so we have a lot in common where we just, and all of us, talk about going to the temple and how much it strengthens us, and that we know with clarity who we are. And I love with Susan Pierce Thompson, this last blog, where you just your conviction and to defending your lines. And I feel like my Gideon Game groups, my buddies, the conference, I mean, all the different connections with the Tuesday night, all of those help me defend my lines and define who I am, because I love my body. I love the spirit that's in my body.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, that was a great blog, and we love our LDS connections, right? Our tying the gospel in, definitely. Ashley, what about you? The greatest lesson learned. Oh, no, I'm sorry. The Brightest Eaters community. How has that affected your journey? How's that helped you?
Yeah, so I think it was huge. I can't remember when I was added, but I remember posting. Well, you saw my picture from the slideshow at the beginning. I posted that picture and I said, like, here I am trying again. And that was in the summer. That was before October, before I officially did the boot camp. And I had several people reach out to me through the Facebook community saying, do you want to be on a Gideon Games team? Do you want a buddy? And that support has made a huge difference in strengthening my program, is just having people to talk to on a daily or weekly basis, and having, yeah, that sense of community. That has been so helpful, because in moments when I am white knuckling it, when I am, faced with all sorts of NMF, I have reached out to people that I've met through that, and it has made the difference between a bright day and a not bright day. And so the connections I got through the Facebook group has been phenomenal, in finding people to like support me, and not just in bright line eating, but in true friendship too.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love that. I love the connection and what all of you do, all of you that are listening today, you all contribute to that connection and that love and that friendship that exists in our group. So thank you so much. Okay. So how has being a Bright Lifer affected your Bright Line eating journey? What has been the most helpful part of your Bright Lifer membership? And Alison, you can talk a little bit more about this. What's the most helpful part of being a Bright Lifer?
I think just having more information about things like maintenance, and I've been going through maintenance one module lately, and it just gives me more of a sense of commitment. And my goal is to daily be in there somewhere, having access to those tools. Being on a Gideon Games team has been a game changer for me too. Um, and just like Pearl said about that, those women become your dear, dear friends, and you can be vulnerable with them because they share your beliefs, and that has been a huge plus for me. Being a bright lifer means that you've come all the way in and you've sat all the way down, and I never really did that before. So I'm just, I'm glad to that it's been gradual for me. I've done a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and I've just become a lot more solid.
Awesome. Awesome. So I So I told you guys I joined Bright Line Eating. I started Bright Line Eating in March of 2017. And I did the 14-day challenge that was available back then. And then I knew I needed to do boot camp. I needed to do boot camp because there was really no other connection. That was the only way to really have a community, was to do boot camp. There were no unofficial groups of any kind. And so it was a huge financial hardship for me at that time. It was really, really hard. But I was able to get a discount that was available back then, and I did boot camp. And then there was just no way that I could possibly do Bright Lifer membership on top of that. There was just no way. And so I started the Bright Lane Eating or the Brightest Eaters for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints Facebook group in July. Okay. So I was just finishing up with boot camp at that time. And I started the Facebook group. And oh my goodness, it was amazing. The connection that I felt and the friendship. And, I had so much connection. So I went, for all those years, just feeling really connected. I didn't need to be a Bright Lifer. Look at me. I was losing the weight. I had so many friendships and connections, and I knew all the information I needed. Well, it was in March of 2021 that there was this all LDS Getting Game team that was forming, and they were advertising and publicizing it on the Brightest Eaters group. Who can be a member of this group? And I thought, oh, I really want to be a member. And so I went ahead and I sprung for, I did the Bright Lifer membership finally. And it was expensive. And again, money was tight. We've had a lot of financial struggles. And so it was a big sacrifice, but it was worth it. And here's what I found. The Getting Game team will always be the biggest motivator for me. But I found that the morning accountability calls have been so powerful for me. And I have made a lot of connections in the community that I would not have made otherwise. I've guided people in the community. I've been able to form these amazing friendships with people in the community, and I would not have had that otherwise. But my $33 that I pay every month, it ends up being like $33. It is more important to me, I think, than my cell phone. If I had to get rid of my cell phone or my Bright Lifer membership, I'd probably get rid of my cell phone, I think, before. And that's a big thing, right? But it is such a vital cost for me. Just like a cell phone, at one time I was like, why am I paying money for a cell phone? This is crazy. I don't have money for this. This is stupid. But now my cell phone is but yeah, my Bright Lifer membership is probably more important to me. So there you go. All right. Next question. What would you tell someone who wants to come back to Bright Lane Eating after being away for a time? Pearl, what would you tell that person?
I wrote it all out, but I think can't read this, but what would I tell them? I would tell them to come home in the sense that being a Bright Lifer, really the resources are endless, and being able to talk to, and you can tailor it to yourself. I heard what Ashley said. I'm doing maintenance. I'm doing grit. I mean, you can choose and tailor what will work for you. And the accountability calls. I mean, there is such, if you are willing to come in and sit all the way down, there is a way to be able to make a difference in your life. And some find it with the Gideon Games group. I think that's one of the most powerful. Mastermind groups are also very powerful because you're going through the resources on the hub. And I'm amazed at the resources there. And when you go, you realize the community is so big and so large, but you can tailor it to what you need. And so I've encouraged some of my friends who've done Bright Lifing. This is so interesting. Both of my ministering sisters have done Bright Lining. So, but you have to be willing to make the choice to change. And it's a commitment. It's like Susan said, there's a conviction that you will defend your lines, even if you're dropped in the middle of the jungle, you would go find a pile of insects to eat that looked like about 4 ounces, in the sense that it is just, uh, it is a beautiful place to be. And it's such a blessing. The Lord has given us such a gift.
So true. Thank you so much. All right. Next question. What are your top 3 habits or tools that are essential for staying bright? And I've got Pearl and Allison. Let's start with Allison, and then we'll go to Pearl. Top 3 tools.
Top
Essential.
three. Well, of course, writing down your food is like the top one, and that's always up there. I'm not always specific with that, but I write something down and stick to it. Um, the things that led to my consistency was being on a paid challenge and being on the Gideon Games team with my LDS lady friends. So just that support, those are my top 3 right there.
I love it. I love it. And I've been in maintenance for almost 4 years now, going on 4 years. I have to write down my food and I have to commit my food every night. If I don't do it, my lines get wonky, you guys. So I'm just one of those people. I'm going to have to do it the rest of my life and commit it to another person. It's not just, writing it down. Yep. Okay.
Okay, here comes the
Pearl.
third testimony on writing it down. When I heard that Susan Pierce Thompson was still writing her food down every day, I was just like, really? But I realize now how very important that is, because I'm very visual. When I write it down, I can see that food in front of me all day of what's coming next and what I'm going to eat. And then committing that really makes a difference. I think the other thing that has really made a difference for me is to keep your food simple. And simple, it's automated, and it's prepped. I get up in the morning, I know what I'm going to eat, and I love what I eat. It's going to be delicious. I can't wait for it. And I know how I'm going to do my lunches and dinners. But that's one of the important tools, is to be able to have it simple, have it prepped if possible, and automated. You just know what you're going to eat. And my third one that helps me, that is my what habit, is the Gideon Game Group with that daily connections. That is really one of the things that makes all the difference, is those daily connections. And it expands very easily into the brightest eaters and the Tuesday nights and all of those things. But those tools, when I sat back and looked at this program by Susan Pierce Thompson, I thought, you can look at Weight Watchers, you can look at all the others, but the genius of this program is the connection. Because when are we connected like this to others? And the other genius is the maintenance. How often have we lost weight and never been able to maintain it? But there is a way to do that with bright line eating.
Oh, beautiful. I'm doing the breakout session at the conference on simplify, 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 talking about food, simplify your food. And the other thing that I want to say is that my connections through Bright Lane Eating are my best friends in the world now. They've replaced, you guys are like my best friends, my dearest friends. I tell you all about everything. And I appreciate my Gideon Game team. I appreciate so many of you in this community have been just wonderful friends. So, okay. Next question. We've got 2 more left. Oh, hold on just a second. Oh, do you consider yourself a food addict? And we kind of discussed this a little bit, and if so, how did you come to that conclusion, Ashley?
Yeah, so I think for the longest time, I thought that I had control over the food, and I thought like I had self-control when it came to limiting quantities, or limiting NMF, and but I think, yeah, so I think that it took a few experiences of binging, and a few experiences of being sick from eating so much, and obviously the weight gain was massive, and like the inability for me to tie my shoes while I was so heavy, like to reach down and tie my shoes was hard. And so it took some like really eye-opening experiences for me to come to the conclusion that, yes, like this isn't just something that I struggle with. This is more than just something that's hard for me. It's something that is, yeah, part of the walk that I have to live in this life. And I think it's really interesting. I think of the scripture like that talks about in Ether that says like I give unto men weaknesses that they may become strengths. And I think that that's really interesting. I think also of the pioneers um, who were in the Martin and Willie handcart companies. And I think about how through their extremities they came to know God. And I think for me personally, my food addiction and admitting that it was a food addiction is helping me to come to know God. And so I think once I was able to label myself as a food addict and admit it to not just myself, but to the ones, my closest friends and family around me, once I was able to admit to that, then I was able to start a new path.
Beautiful.
Great.
Thank you. All right, the last question, and I'm going to ask everybody to respond to it. Pearl chose to respond to this question, so I'm going to let you start. And that is share your BLE amoni, share your conviction that this is your way of life and why you choose this way of life every day. So Pearl, let's start with you.
I look at this because God has granted me mercy. And we are thankful that he is a God of mercy. And he's taught me how to be merciful to myself. But he's given me a path and a journey that combines both the gospel of Jesus Christ and a food program where my body feels good and my spirit feels good, where every day I can get up and move and do what I'm asked to do in my stewardship and discipleship. And I'm thankful for that because it's huge. And he's also opened the door to a sisterhood that, and I'm not leaving the brothers out for a minute because I just don't associate with any, but the sisterhood is part of the Lord has told us in the scriptures to gather and to support each other. And this is exactly what we do. We gather daily and we're at each other's feet. We mourn, we celebrate, and I just feel that Jesus is the Christ and he knows who we are and he knows what we need and he's bringing us home. And I feel like I'm coming home together with my wonderful bright lifer, dear friends, dear sisters.
Thank you so much. All right. Alison, just a quick little, why do you choose this way every day?
I choose this every day because, I heard someone else was talking about another program that was working for them, and I'm like, nope, I'm already home. I already know what works. I'm here. I mean, I might not have said that to them, but I'm here for much better things than having food dominate my thoughts and be my idol. I'm supposed to be doing something else with my life, not focusing on food. And that's I know that this is an inspired program, that God's hand is in this, and this is where I need to be. And I will be here for the rest of my life.
Thank you so much. Beautiful. And Ashley.
So thinking back to the Think Celestial talk, I was thinking that what kind of body do I want in the resurrection? And I think about all the really deep, dark places that my mind went when my body was having a hard time breathing or even functioning properly because I was so heavy. And just the constant food chatter that was going on in my mind of always wanting more and getting more, or getting the next high from NMF. And so I know that this program is the only program for me that I can eat the amount of food that is in the plan and not be hungry or not be starving or looking for the next fix. And that it is creating the body that I want to have in the resurrection. And that there's peace. I feel safety here. And so I know that if I follow the plan, that things will work out. And so I agree, it's definitely inspired, but it's also doable. And some people think, oh, especially when you talk to new people, they're like, oh, I could never give up sugar and flour for the rest of my life. I could never do that. But I'm telling you, it is possible to do. And you'll find that those foods never brought you joy in the first place. And you'll find out what really does bring joy. And it's not food.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Yeah, I just marvel that I don't feel the pull towards sugar and flour. You know, it's been a long time since I've really felt a huge pull to it. Not that I have perfect squeaky bright lines every day of my life, but I go for a very long period of time before I break my lines. And so just yeah, having that food freedom, the clear mind and loving my simple food. I just love it. You know, there's no reason to go back to how I felt when I was eating the other things. So, oh, ladies, thank you so much. You have given so many great thoughts and ideas and things to think about. And you are all just amazing. You're just amazing. I just look up to each one of you. So thank you for joining us today. We have about 5 more minutes, 5 to 7 minutes. If anybody has some questions, we would love to take those now. So just raise your hand or unmute yourself and let us know what questions are there. You can put them in the chat, whatever is most comfortable for you. Susan.
Hey, hello. I just want to tell you, I am just so inspired by all of you, and I have so much hope for myself hearing your talk. My question is, what was it like when you first came back home, like to start fresh? And did you have to, like, what was your first couple of days like coming back and getting back on the plan and getting in your weight loss day? You know, how did you keep the momentum going coming home?
Oh, that's a great question. Who'd like to respond to that?
I can.
Awesome.
So, I have to admit it was you know how before when you do the boot camp, you have a week of prep, right? Where you clean out your pantry, you do all those things, you have that week to prepare. And so I was also trying to prepare myself just mentally for the change that would be happening. The first few days, I still had plenty of food thoughts. So it was definitely, was really helpful for me to have my food written down, and also prepared if possible, prepared ahead of time, right? To have it ready to go. Because yeah, it was definitely hard coming back, especially after so long. I had been away from bright line eating for several years. And so after so long of coming back, there was definitely, I would say the first 2 weeks are the hardest. And my focus was one day at a time. I was like, we just got to make it through today. Like, we just got to get one day and then one more. And when I first did bright line eating, I didn't even have 100 days together. And the second time, I'm like, well, I'm at 180 something or the other, right? Like I'm well beyond what I ever thought I could do before. The last thing I wanted to say was, Susan talks about wearing your bunny slippers. Just be gentle with yourself. Know that this is going to be a really hard time for the first couple of weeks. Just don't overbook yourself. Just make sure you take really good care of yourself. Give yourself a bath, go for walks, like do things like that.
Great. Alison.
Well, one thing that really helped me was reading the book Reboot Resume, which addresses the restarting over and over again, because I had to restart a lot of times to get going on that. And I found that in that book, I found some ideas that helped me make some adjustments. I was having a very difficult time getting through the afternoon after lunch because I was sticking to the weight loss plan, and adding some food to lunch helped me a lot to get through to dinner. And then after dinner, I had a puzzle out or embroidery or something to do with my hands, and that helped a lot too. So.
Yeah, I love that. And, on the accountability calls, a lot of times people will come on to get coaching. They're still in weight loss, but they're trying to resume, right? They're trying to get back on track. And the coaches often will talk about, you know, add some food. Even though you're on weight loss, the most important thing is to be bright. That is the most important thing. Even if bright
Exactly.
means that you're going to add some food, right? And so, yeah, I love that. The other thing I wanted to say that it reminded me about, Alison, is that we do have 2 different breakout sessions on Resume that are available to everybody in our community through our YouTube page. And I'll try to post both of those. One is by Shauna Murph, and the other one is by Genevieve Campbell. We've got 2 of those that are available with no cost because they're from past conferences. So
Wendy Reynolds has one too.
Wendy Reynolds has one, but that one is not free because it was from. Is it on our YouTube channel already?
It was
I
part
don't
of
think
the
it is
conference.
yet. I don't
Yeah.
think it is yet because because there is a charge for all of those. It's a couple of years before we release them for free.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So
Mhm.
Wendy's is amazing, and anybody who was at conference in 2023. No, it was actually just last year, 2024. If you were at conference in 2024, I highly recommend listening and re-listening to Wendy's if you're in a resume situation. It's great. Yeah. Um, all right, one more question if we have time. Or if we have one more question, we've got time for one more. Anybody have another question? Nope. Okay. You guys, thank you so much. Thanks everybody for joining us tonight. And we are just grateful to all of the panelists. You have been a wealth of knowledge and such great stories. So thank you for sharing your time and your love with all of us. Everybody have a great night.
And I'm thankful for the other panelists because they've inspired me. So I love it.
Yeah, you too, for me.